All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to sit here for just a few moments while people come in and give you guys a little bit of an update here. Um, the reason I am doing this highlight reel, this is one of my favorite shows that I've ever done, was with George H. Lewis and Mark Atwood. And so, in a nutshell, when we finish the shows, one of the great uses of AI is doing these clips. So AI will generate the clips, and then you get a pick. Usually, you pick one or two, and you send those to Instagram or now they have Rumble Shorts, YouTube. What else is there? I mean, TikTok, X, you name it. And so there's so many great clips on this show. I just took all of them. I don't know, there's 12 or 13, and just played them one after another. So you guys, it's basically a highlight reel. I think it's about 13 minutes. So guys, let me know your thoughts. I mean, not everybody can watch every show that's an hour and a half, and it didn't take me too long. But if there's good feedback on these highlight reels, this is likely something I can do more often. So I'll play that. Also, just want to let you guys know that there is a great event coming up in New York, and it is April 25th and 26th in Lynbrook. And the awakeningsummit.org is the website for that. So anyway, I'm now going to play the highlight reel from our amazing interview with Mark Atwood and George H. Lewis. So without further ado, here we go.
I mean, one of the reasons I'm generally calm is because I got visited by a ship, and it was very multi-dimensional, right? It was an orange not rectangular, triangular with rounded edges, like a burnt orange color with black hieroglyphics on, and it was literally outside my back door, and then it went like that. And I've had a few experiences like that. I did a video about the stone circle. I went to Arbor Low in Derbyshire, which is, I think, is the most powerful stone circle on the planet, like intersection of 9 ley lines, but it's very low key, and it's kind of little car park, and you have to walk through a farm to get there. But when I was there with Gillian England, who's a really powerful spiritual intergalactic kind of character, healer, and she was kind enough to invite me over, and we went and filmed it and didn't know what to expect. But we unblocked it from the royal family who had been blocking these ley lines, because I got a telepathic message while I was in the middle of the circle to go outside of it. And I found these concrete blocks with VR, Victoria Regina. Immediately knew there'd be one on every ley line. And then there was a 10th one, which was George Rex, GR. And we cleared them. And then the sun literally came out of nowhere, and it changed in front of my eyes. And it was very similar. It's kind of like, the way I can describe it is it's like an animation. It's like looking at an animation. You know, the sun changed. I had a black line and a white light going around it like this, and it was pumping out all these beautiful colors.
So when something new comes up onto the table, like the positive psyop that we call Q, yes, it's a psyop, but it's a positive psyop. What do I mean? It's here to awaken the people. Just take myself. By investigating those symbols, those open-ended labels, those little mini drops, it gets us to ask the question. It gets us to get activated, to begin to understand what it is to be human, to be creative, to be authentic. And so in some ways, the spiritual component is so fundamental, because it's all about that dance between the spiritual and the material. To be fully human is to play in that polarity.
And then the teacher came to my house and literally knocked at my door after ringing me 20 times, and basically forced me to go for a meeting with a representative from the organization in Ireland called TUSLA. Now, people in Ireland will know about TUSLA, but outside of Ireland, it's kind of like social services. They're really a child trafficking organization, right? And I had to go into this meeting with the teacher and this woman from TUSLA, and she was demonically possessed, 100%. And I can tell, because they don't like me at all. They sort of bristle like this when they see me. It's quite amusing, because I can see demonic energy in people. And so I put my hand out to her. I said, all pleasantries and niceties. And then I said, and then they threatened me with prison because I'd taken the kids out of school for so long. And I had to sit there and go, well, actually, I should be taking you to prison because you've committed child abuse. And then she couldn't look at me, and the teacher just sort of shook his head and said, "That's above my pay grade." And I said, "Well, you need to think about that." And then I left.
What would have been the best way to awaken humanity without creating a serious destructive, where there would have been a collapse and the evolution wouldn't have been possible? Well, the COVID thing, if I'm looking at it dispassionately here, was actually a brilliant way for humanity to go through the birth canal. And then who knows what Operation Warp Speed is? For me, it's not just salines in various solutions and stopping the deep state with their murder protocol and dissolving that. But I also think it's speeding up the 16-year plan of the 2030 agenda, so we, like frogs, realize we're being boiled. And it's almost that birth canal of the realization of what is consciousness, because we've had the mission creep, slow creep towards this very dark nihilistic secularism, and so the faith is huge here, because I believe, like Mark, that Trump, because traveling with Byron Trump and it's not just Ingersoll Lockwood, it's just the whole 9 yards of John Trump and real Tesla, and understanding that we're dealing with something which is cosmic. And many of us have had non-terrestrial experiences now. Yes, many of us. And it's a question of, okay, really, it's something, the frequency is suddenly expanding. And this is a spiritual awakening. The structure, Saturn is breaking down. But art, for me, I lived in the Middle East. I was court painter to the Sultan of Oman for a while. It was incredible because I was able to paint the camels get into the desert with the Bedouins, and the Middle East is definitely past life for me. It's like Bhutan as well. This world is so beautiful, and it needs to be celebrated. We need to build. I mean, one of my biggest dreams would be, once the XRP and the silver pops, I would love to build a town or a city based on the most beautiful Tartarian, and to put it in practical terms, a southern Italy style village with Tartarian etheric technology. I mean, there are studies out there with HeartMath Institute showing that authenticity carries a frequency that is way higher and more integrated than even the love frequency, because you can't really love without being truly authentic. And I think, of course, the language for me is astrology, not exclusively, but we see with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the 0 point of Aries, which hasn't happened at the entry point of Aries for over 6,000 years. This is a radical departure away from us bending the knee to old systems. And we can discuss the collective global situation as far as the reduction and the dismantlement of the British Empire and the old systems-based global system on the one hand, and the 3D level, or we can talk about Saturn as far as the matrix having a fundamental psychological control over we individuals, and us coming out of that hypnosis and into something incredibly freeing. I mean, I'd go as far as to say that we are in a time in our civilization now where we're going to experience freedom. We have the potential to experience freedom that is not in the memory of the collective psyche. Wow. Humans have forgotten, truly, even great-grandparents, it's not there. And so we are entering a point where we truly, and music's always played a big part in my life. And in the last 2 years, I've rediscovered what I call water therapy. And I'm putting individuals in ideally salt water, which is ideally roughly the same sort of body temperature as the blood, so warm, and they float in it, and I'm able to unlock the spine through sound frequency. Sound travels much more efficaciously through water than it does through air. And I'm using a number of crystal bowls and Tibetan bowls, and it's absolutely incredible. People are having past life memories come back, in the womb experiences. They're really unlocking certain traumas. And this is very nascent for me. This is very new at the beginning. And this is just an example of how we're all rediscovering ourselves through all these different sound frequencies. And so really, this is what the site is, a gateway to come and explore that, whether it's through having a day with me or doing it in person or online. I mean, the astrology and the intuitive readings are sort of better online. I prefer to do the sound as much as possible in person, either in retreats or day events. But I'm always open to any forms of collaboration.
Beautiful.
I mean, Mark, I'd love to get your insights into how it's playing out with Iran and Israel.
Yeah, it's on everyone's
hearts and minds.
It's coming up a lot, isn't it? I said to the politics guy, Rich, this morning, I said, it's really all about Stargate, you know that? And he went, no, don't go there.
Gene Decode speaks a little bit about that, doesn't he? Which is very fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, the Iraq War was really about Gilgamesh, and and they were, no, you can't say that. I was like, that. If you don't want to know the truth, then don't listen to it. We're seeing the complete in 3D. I think we're seeing with Iran is actually the deconstruction of the Satanic Empire. Now, some people would call that the British Empire, but I think that's a misnomer, because the British were the cover story, for a satanic organization, and that is being dismantled before our eyes. And what I've learned to do is trust the process. So there's a lot of people going, oh, Trump is supposed to be an anti-war president, and there he is bombing things. And I think I was just looking at Dr. Sala before you sent me a message, and he was talking about the fact that this Iranian thing and the Venezuelan thing is actually being used to disclose the advanced technology that they're using. I mean, how did they do that Venezuelan operation? There's some technologies there that we don't know about that I think are being revealed, and I think that's what it's all.
When is your next retreat that you're on?
I mean, I tend to keep, if I'm honest, I tend to keep my retreats a little private. So they're mainly at this stage invitation only. I mean, I did 7 last year. I've done 2 this year, a couple more, because I like to honor the sacredness of the people who come together. And it's very alchemical, because always the right people come. And I normally cap it at 12 or 13 souls. It's very intimate. And the right people come. And ultimately, even more importantly than the astrology and the healing or the activation that I'm doing, because everyone heals themselves anyway, or the yoga that someone else is providing. I love to do yoga, but I'm not a yogi by any stretch. But all the activities, what's more important is the community.
She got in the back of my car in 2020 and she went, Donald Trump's a paedophile. And I went, oh, God. It's been this real battle to fighting the MK Ultra that the kids are getting, especially in this country. The indoctrination at schools has been awful. I had to take my eldest son out of the local school because he was being systematically bullied by the teachers, and I put him into a local grammar school, and I was picking him up during the COVID years from school, and he was down, because they were making him wear a mask. And by the way, I homeschooled my kids for 3.5 years in Morocco before we moved to Ireland. So they'd had that experience. They all knew that they could leave school. They all know. I talk about this quite a lot on my show. Whenever I drop them off at school, I say the same thing to them every morning. Have a nice day in prison. Remember, everything they're teaching you is bullshit, and question everything, including this. Have a nice day. See you later. And they are. I'm very proud of the fact that they are all. I've taught them to be critical thinkers as much as possible. I encourage them to don't get a job, set up a business, and don't set up a limited company, set up a private members association. What's that, Dad? Because they're not learning any of this stuff in the system that they're in.
Is the manipulation of sound, whether it's Bono or Prince Rupert Lervenstein, who was a friend of one of my godfathers, who manipulated the sound for the Beatles and the Rolling Stones in the 60s and 70s, and the Royal College of Music from 432 to 440. This whole thing, because music is the great art. It is the universal art. And as Goethe says, music is frozen architecture, and architecture is, music is liquid architecture, and it's music is so important. And once we can pull that back and use the music for ourselves, for our own healing and divine connection, really, Houston will have liftoff as a planetary species.
There and back again. Ma ha ka wa ta he ta wa ka ha ma. There and back again. Do you see? Multi-dimensional beings are we. From the energy of the first light, through the calendar of the light of days, with the veil down, we were in a haze. 1 to 10 and back again. In the darkness we held each other tightly until the light came. The dragon blood,
the Taki, the Akashic potentiality. At the speed of memory, we came, there and back again. From the I am to the we are, we came far, there and back again.
Might need to unmute my mic. I was trying to make sure there's no extra sounds there, but that's the highlight reel from the George H. Lewis and Mark Atwood show. I'll share with you the thumbnail from that show that was nearly a week ago. But I just had this inkling as I was going through the AI clips to throw them all together and share them in roughly 15 minutes. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. If this is something that you like, if you resonate with it, I can do this for more of the shows because there is so much information coming out that if people can't catch an entire show and they see something like this, then they may want to catch the entire show. It was incredible. It was one of my favorite interviews I've ever done was with these two chaps. So that's about it for today. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on the 14th of March 2026 with Dr. Jan Halper Hayes at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. So, all right, take care, chat soon, and yeah, best to you guys. All right, see ya. Ciao.